Revolution?
This is, bro.
All right, I got the link. I'm just going to retweet it.
What's going on, y'all? Today is Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. Here with Bitcoin Jack. We're
What's
gonna
going
give
on,
it
guys?
gonna give it a minute or so, and then we're gonna be talking crypto update. We're gonna be talking billionaires and banks coming on in, and what to expect going forward, at least in our opinion, in the crypto market. So if you're joining us, sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice cold drink, and we're gonna be chatting for a little bit. Give us another minute or so to get going, and we'll see you.
Remember when we sit, talk face to face and wonder whether we'd be making it. And chat for hours, got the left side of government. I'd sit and listen to your words and I'd be loving it. Now the times have changed. Older, but we always stay the same. I'm filling up the whole lane. And you and me should kick it more than ever, more than ever, more than ever. Yeah, remember me and you. Remember me and you.
Okay, here we go.
Should be on both pages, right?
Yeah, I got it. Just doing the Facebook one.
What's going on, y'all? Got some people live streaming right now. Let us know who you are in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Interact with us. I'm here with Bitcoin Jack tonight. Again, Jack, you're becoming this is the regular. Jack and I are gonna be stirring up a lot of good crypto content here coming forward, but we're on tonight with Jack again. We're gonna be talking about a crypto update, Bitcoin update on the market. We'll look at some charts, and we'll be talking about a lot of the recent updates on bigger money coming into the industry. So if you're someone that's been hearing about Bitcoin, thinking about buying Bitcoin, or you just want to start learning a little bit, tonight we'll be trying to convince you that now is probably one of the best times to actually get involved. So definitely stay tuned. Jack, I think we're good. Are you so we're live? We're streaming right now. We're doing pretty good here. Are we live or what?
We are. I mean, I sent out the link, so I'm good to go.
All right, cool, man. So here we are. Today is November 18th, 2020. What an incredible time. We're sitting right at the cusp of the last all-time high, being winter 2017. I remember I was working at that point. I remember exactly where I was. It's when I was
We
first.
were doing those coffee shop meetings at Starbucks near the mall. I remember that too. That was the good old days.
Remember, it was. I remember Bitcoin was passing that $6,000, $7,000 mark. It was October
Hmm.
or September 2017. I dressed as Bitcoin that year for Halloween, dude.
Did you?
Yeah, so we went to this big Halloween party at a local art museum, and I had just heard about Bitcoin like at the
Oh, I
beginning
think
of
I know which
October.
one you're talking about.
Yeah, yep, yep. I had just heard about Bitcoin October 2017 after a while, and I was like, all right, you know what? I've been hearing about it for so long. I'm just going to read into it. And I read the white paper, dude, and then straight down the rabbit hole. And then I was Bitcoin for that Halloween, October 2017, at this art museum. I was wearing gold sunglasses like people see. I had on a t-shirt. I had the bees all like I had them like ironed on with the paper, and then I had a
The
price
bees.
I had a price chart as well, and that massive rise up. Then actually, I probably still got it over there, but yeah, it was peaking from what like less than $1,000 just the year before to 19,500 or 600, which is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that was a wild time.
Where were you?
It's crazy how far we've come since then. I mean, 2017 feels like it was like a long time ago. Like, and the amount of development that's happened, and we're finally just reaching that price now. It's uh, it's quite rewarding. I could say that.
Well, it's crazy because they're doing the Google Trend data, and BTC still at an all-time low.
Yeah,
People are watching right now. We have several people watching. Everyone that's tuning in, we're streaming across 4 platforms today, or 3 platforms. So, I'm here with Jack tonight. Definitely tune in. If you've got any questions, just let us know in the comments. I put a bunch of links already where you can get a head start and buy Bitcoin through Swan Bitcoin or through Cash App. You can watch those tutorials. You can subscribe to my email newsletter where you get a lot of these. But Jack and I are going to be creating more crypto content going forward. Really trying to get people on board and get them ready for this transition, this digital transition that's happening in the background. It's important to pay attention because right now, for the first time in probably about 5 or 6 generations of people, money is changing and the reserve currency is changing, and Bitcoin plays right into that. Jack, we've been talking about this for 2 years now, over 2 years now,
definitely.
since that last all-time high, and here we
Yeah.
are.
I mean, I was so ignorant during the last all-time high. It's like I'm in a completely different mental world now versus then. So I'm like really excited for the future. I, kind of hunkered down over the last 4 years and did just an insane amount of, you know, um, just learning on, self-reflection, learning about Bitcoin. Just it's kind of shaken my core beliefs, like shaking my beliefs to the core. It's insane how much it's the philosophy behind it has really shaped and changed my life, and arguably I could say it's for the better. It's kind of like the idea of going down the rabbit hole, and what you find down there is quite shocking. And uh, you know when people start talking about Bitcoin, like if they have this really weird perception about it because they heard it from somebody else, and word of mouth typically doesn't travel very well in terms of getting the point across.
Right.
So when you tell people how invested you are into this belief system and this idea, people look at you like you're crazy, and it's only until they do it themselves to where they can kind of get an understanding of what you're really talking about. And like, so I was like, when you were saying like you read the white paper that brought you down the rabbit hole, it's like I had a completely different experience, because like what Bitcoin is to me is probably different than what it is to you and to everyone else. So like getting down that rabbit hole is like it's literally a journey, and there's no one way to find it. Curiosity obviously brought me there. It's like I was thinking about how I really got to it, and I probably didn't get deep into like the real understanding of it until like I want to say like early this year was like the transformative feeling of like, no, I would say actually it was probably in 2019. I obviously believed in it, but like I hadn't fully been spit out of the rabbit hole, like completely changed. It was, I believe in this system with a foot in the door type of thing, but it's only a foot in the door, and it's not like my full weight of my energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you make the calls right. There we go.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
dude,
been looking at.
my computer was just freaking being so freaking slow right now, but because the streamer's here, so I'm just pulling up the chart in the background here.
Yeah,
What a beautiful chart, though.
it looks even crazier when you put it on log scale, man. It's just insane what's happening, and I think this cycle is like it's really gonna people are gonna be scratching their heads at it, and that's what kind of everyone is saying is the people that don't get it are the naysayers. Like they're just gonna continue scratching their heads at it until they kind of go through this experience, and it's like a good way to really question your beliefs about like the way society is structured and the way it should be run is like um, ask yourself what is money, and then write down that answer, do a little bit of research on what money is what it's supposed to be, the philosophy of it. And the
Mm.
more and more you ask yourself that question, the deeper and deeper you go into just this idea of money, the philosophy, and it is the utmost important thing in the world, in my opinion, is having a true money, sound money, one that is designed to maintain its value that you put into it. Because at the end of the day, like, we're all typically going to work, giving up our time for this piece of paper that is utterly worthless, that can be printed and devalued at whatever rate the government decides. And that's not the way the world should be run. And it's, like I said, it's just not a coincidence that we are where we are today, politically and socially, that, the idea of fix the money, fix the world is just ringing true to me. The more and more I learn about it, it's like, I'm so convinced that fixing our money will change society in just an insane amount of ways that you can't tell me otherwise, that this system works. And only until you understand that yourself can you kind of see the world in a completely different picture. Like, all of politics recently, the election, it's like looking at it through the lens of Bitcoin, it all makes sense and it's so clear, but it's so unclear to the rest of the world. It's, everyone wants to do the bad actors blame. No, like, you switch out the actors, you still have the broken system. So that's not gonna fix our problems, unfortunately. And Bitcoin was made for a reason, and it's going to wreck all the naysayers. It's going to just completely uplift the financial system, and it's just the black hole that's sucking in everything. And the new system after that is going to be, something we've never seen before.
Well, I think we should all take an applause for that, Jack. Why? Because it's about time. It's about time we went back to a financial system where our money was actually worth more in the future. It's about time that we weren't robbed through this invisible thing called inflation, where...
Yeah. And how about you say about time?
Mm-hmm.
It's never happened before, because gold was not perfect. If gold was perfect, like, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never had true sound money, and we've never had perfect money before that was unconfiscatable.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, in my eyes, like a complete shift to a different paradigm of humanity, because we have this technology now that is literally just going to change the world. And it's like a good example. It's like, now that this technology exists, like, what is going to become of the world? And so, like, if you think about like Beethoven or something, like, would his talents have been utilized if the piano hadn't been invented? So, we're talking, we're investing in this long-term system. Like, this system is going to outlive us. We're not going to see the terminal inflation of Bitcoin, like, until, long after our deaths. So we're investing in this super, super long-term system for probably not even our kids, but our kids' kids, to see the fruit of that. And it's awesome to be a part of. And, that's how humanity has moved forward in life, is just these long-term investments in technology.
It's the digital equivalent as when gold was first struck underground, what, 100+ years ago? How many years ago was the gold rush, right?
The gold rush, was in the early 1900s.
All right,
I believe,
so that
right?
was a very short period of gold expansion. Obviously, gold was around quite a bit, and silver and metals, but you're right. Where this is the equivalent of like the start of a new currency, a new monetary system, a new technology, which is gonna, like, I try to talk with people about the use cases of Bitcoin yet, and we don't even know, because, like you're saying, like with who'd you say, Beethoven or
Yeah, you could pick like
the
anybody
piano, the
you know
tool, the technology needed to exist for the artist to actually create art, right? Like,
I mean, it doesn't have to even be an artist, but the tool had to be in place for someone to utilize their talents in the world. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like now that this new tool exists, like we don't know the capabilities that we're going to unlock out of people.
Yeah.
And obviously I think it's going to be for the greater good of humanity.
I think this is a good time to explain some of these books that I have in front of me right now. I just, I think it's perfect timing right now. First of all, these are the Magical Crypto friends, by the way. They're friends of ours. They're friends to this show. They're friends to this channel. They're also, on YouTube. And if you want to look them up, search the Magical Crypto friends on YouTube. These are a bunch of early core developers or people that are running some of the biggest cryptocurrency projects, Bitcoin, Monero, Litecoin, and others. But the first book that I have here, Jack, and you were talking about money and the history of money and where you should first start learning about Bitcoin. It's the Bitcoin Standard. This book you can purchase on Amazon. You can purchase on others. Jack and I are going to go through a few resources right now where you could start learning about Bitcoin. The thing I really liked about this book, and I have 3 of them here, but Safadin
Amus.
Yeah. So he did a good job of actually going through the history of money, and teaching you first about, what money is, what forms of money have existed, and then once you are able to read that and learn about money, it almost becomes so easy to just understand Bitcoin, in my opinion. So this has been one of my favorite books. He talks about that, and then he goes into what Bitcoin is, what it's all about. Have you read this at all, Jack?
Bits and pieces. I need to sit down and fully do it. I've been wanting to get it from my dad as well, so I'll probably end up getting 2 copies. But I have read parts of it. Everyone says that's the book you're supposed to read. It's like I've gotten this far without reading it, and I will read it. It's just I'm so tied up in podcasts and stuff because I'm more about because I understand the value proposition. So I am really focused on the cutting edge information, what's going on, who's investing, blah blah blah. But that's kind of where I am. But I will get back to the roots of it because I know how important that book is, and I've heard people talk about some of his points. He does have some extreme views in the world of fiat. He calls it fiat art, and how modern day art is just a destruction of creativity, which is it's probably not a good way to phrase it because he says he uses a very specific word. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's the type of verbiage that Hitler was using to describe things. And his thing is if you look at all the old art and the amount of time that these artists had to put into honing their skills into to making these masterpieces, comparing it today, how the banana duct taped on a wall type of thing. He says it's no coincidence. That's his point, and I don't fully buy that because art is more of the perspective of the viewer, and anything could really be art. So and both have their merits in terms of creativity and skill. So it is a good starting place for learning purely about money, purely about Bitcoin. You can kind of throw some of his other ideas over your shoulder.
This is the next one. This is the first book that I bought. This is the first book that was recommended to me, and I've dubbed this the Bitcoin Bible, and I still believe in it. And that is Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos.
Mm-hmm.
I
remember when you showed me that book.
Yeah. You're a big audio and visual learner. You've learned a lot of your content from podcasts and a lot of the videos and stuff. Am I correct with that?
Almost all of my learning is videos or podcast video, same thing.
Yeah.
And Twitter. Yeah. For the most part. I have read a few books here and there, but podcasts are free, Twitter's free, books cost a little bit of money. So in terms of ease of access, it's a no-brainer for me. And then a lot of people write free stuff online too on Medium or something. So
dude,
I do
This
read
one,
like longer posts there.
so, and that's still, I'm only bringing that up for people that are watching. From Jack's point, like, there's a large amount of content out there. We're gonna go over a
There's
little bit
too
of both.
much.
Like, this, like, I'm just showing book references. Like this book right here by Andreas Antonopoulos. The first half of it is for the person that is not technical. You just want to learn about it. The last half of it is for also the more technical minded people. So the developers, the people that want to learn from a code perspective about Bitcoin in depth. But you could see this one's more like a textbook, a Riley textbook. Dude, these notes I was writing down as I was flying down to Miami in January of 2018 to go to
I
the
remember that.
North American Bitcoin Conference in 2018. I got a first class flight. It was from 6:30 in the morning out of Hartford. And I flew down there first class. And I had, dude, and I literally was, and I'm sitting there with my highlighter just grinding away at this freaking book. And this has been a really good tool for me. I feel like this gave me such a head start. Just like reading this book from the beginning, I felt like I was just, it was, again, the rabbit hole. It was like straight down. My boy Chris Day hooked me up with this one. Shout out to Chris Day over in London. And yeah, Andreas is someone that like I've watched a lot, and he's on YouTube. So, you know, you talk about like content you want to watch, you can find Andreas Antonopoulos on YouTube as well.
It's crazy. Like you told me to watch the Bitcoin banking on Bitcoin on YouTube, like that hour and a half documentary. I think it was originally now it's free on YouTube with ads.
YouTube and Netflix.
If you look at
and Netflix.
I don't know if it's on Netflix because I did look. I don't know. You can find it somewhere very easily. It's free. Regardless, there are some like names in the early days of Bitcoin that have just gone off the rails. And Andreas Antonopoulos is one of the guys that has really stuck through. He hasn't lost his sanity. You know what I'm talking about? Some of the OGs that have just completely lost their way with the, you know.
Max Kaiser calls it Bitcoin derangement syndrome, I think. He says you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you.
Exactly.
Maybe that's exactly what we're seeing, right? Roger Ver, John McAfee, all these, or you know, they either go mad like for it or mad against it, like the Jamie Dimons, the freaking devils of the world, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I just saw on Twitter today is like a tweet from JP Morgan in like 2017 about how like Bitcoin was gonna not exist soon. I don't know the exact tweet. It was like it's a scam, blah blah blah, and it will play out soon. Fast forward to today, they're calling for like a upside target of like 30,000 or something.
JP Morgan loves it.
It's just funny how quickly the dominoes have started to fall, and it really feels like the past month the dominoes, like it felt like they weren't falling, and now we're in this like exponential acceleration of the dominoes collapsing. It's like Citibank, what is it, over $300,000 price target?
318,000. By
you have Dalio tweeting
December 2021. So Citibank has, and we can pull up the article if we need to, but Citibank's pretty much put out a price target of $318,000 of Bitcoin by December 2021. So that's almost 1 year from now, roughly.
Yeah. And you have like Dalio that tweeted yesterday.
Yeah.
There might be something I'm missing about Bitcoin. Please enlighten me. I'm guessing he already has some. He has probably like a 1% holding. That's just my personal guess, and that to get him to learn a little bit about him more, because he sees all of his Wall Street buddies buying in, and you know when your friends are doing something and you're not, it does eat away at you. So it's you know it's no coincidence that he tweeted that yesterday, and I saw on Twitter today it was like, is that the tweet?
Look at my response.
I did see that when I was reposting the video.
Yeah. So Ray, if you're watching this, hey, you let know. Jack, we got Bitcoin Jack. We got Bitcoin Jack, and we got Joe Rapp here, Ray Dalio. Once you're ready to actually listen about Bitcoin and start collaborating, we're gonna drive ourselves down there to Bridgewater, right? And we're gonna collaborate, and then we're gonna prepare a plan for Connecticut to propose to the state on how they should start integrating Bitcoin into their pension plans, into their treasuries, so we can get this state kickstarted again, because it's quite honestly, fiscally has always been a shit show. So that's what I was saying to him, dude. So maybe Ray will get back to us. I don't know. We'll see.
I highly doubt it, but I'm hoping that. I mean, if you look at his tweet and you look at all of the responses, like there are so many brilliant people that are just like, all right, let's do this. So I mean, I'm assuming he's having these conversations in private, but I think he's buying in, and he's like the head guy. Like if he gives the green light on Bitcoin, I think it's over. Like I don't see it any other way. And even still, like I don't know who the guy is, but a Mexican billionaire just announced that he had 10% of his liquid assets in Bitcoin. So like there are huge name, big money people that are just they're finally releasing their their holdings of it. Everyone was kind of keeping it hush so they could accumulate, and now that the price is going up, it's like I think the floodgates are open. And just looking at some of the charts from yesterday and today, you have a couple of big sell candles on the hourly time frame.
Yeah, Jack, I'm gonna put you on with the charts, Jack. I want you to walk through the charts real quick.
Yeah, I mean it's so I'll zoom it in so you can kind of see it a little better.
But
this is my view on it. So
Bitcoin Jack bringing it to you live.
This was sometime last night. I remember when I was going to bed, it looked like it was about to break out, and I think it did. It basically hit $18,500, and within an hour time frame, it sold off and wicked down all the way to $17,200. It's almost over $1,000 candle right there, which Bitcoin is obviously known for. But I mean, it bounced back up pretty quickly, and what that says to me is, big names are buying. Whoever has money is buying whatever they can get at whatever price. They're trying not to move the price up, and certainly if the price goes down, they are going to buy a ton. And it happened twice. And I think we're just in this game. The way I see it is, this is the most pure store of value in the world, and it will be the purest storage of value in the world. So if you want to have a savings, it should be in Bitcoin. It is the safest place to store it. So if you think of that, people are starting to agree with this idea. So the game is literally becoming get whatever you can get, however you can get it. So it's just buy it and get it and take it from somebody else. So like you have these billionaires that are just buying anything that they can get. If someone is stupid enough to sell them a coin, they're gonna buy it, because they know that this is something much greater than a 2 or 3x flip of your investment. So I think that's what's going on here. I mean, that's just a hunch, but it appears that a lot of people are waiting on the sidelines for the dips, and I don't think they're going to come. Like, maybe. I don't really care if it does come. I mean, I'll buy it too. But I think there's a lot of money that's expecting these dips that I think they're expecting. Or maybe I'm too bullish. I don't really know. But that's just how it feels, is that, the really smart and big money is going to buy on any opportunity you give them. So your dips are going to, they might happen. I think they're just going to be a lot smaller. And like, if you go to this tweet here by Dan Tapp, he literally said at the end, big boys will buy dips now. I mean, it's just obvious. Like, you're talking a pretty successful hedge fund manager, well known in the gold space. He's another Connecticut guy. There's just so many people that are just saying big money's buying any opportunity you give them. And like I said last time we spoke, it's like they wanted this clear idea of a breakout. They got it. And now they are putting everything that they plan on putting into it, like, in right now. So they're just trying not to move the price. And anytime they get a pullback, they're going to take it. So that's the way I see it. I don't think I mean, time is running out, in my opinion, in terms of owning a whole coin. If that's your goal,
Jack,
but
we've been
certainly you're never going to
telling
be.
people for 2 years to own a whole coin, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Bitcoin's down at
yeah, you could
3,800.
do.
It could be at 4. It could be at 5. It could be at 8. It could be at 12. People are texting me right now, Joe. Like, what do I do? I tell them you should be dollar cost averaging. You should be buying on Swan Bitcoin or on Cash App and buying every week, every month, every 2 months. But like, the more you put it off, the more you just say like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do it then." They don't understand. And what we're trying to say to the audience is that this is a it's a because there's only so much of it that exists. It's got a fixed supply. Over
Yeah,
time, the longer you wait, the higher it's going to go in price.
the price is literally the signal of how much of the world agrees with your view. So every day that price goes up, it's an indication of more and more people agreeing with your view. Um, so yeah, fixed supply. The price is going to go above 100,000. Like, it's almost no question in my eyes, it's going to go way above 100,000. So we're talking, it's tough for the average person to buy a whole coin at this point. But if nothing is built in a day unless you have, stocks or whatever that you're willing to sell, or large chunk of saving that you're willing to push into it. But just start stacking. Like, you're missing out on something. Like, the point is like, this technology is going to change the world, and you can go along for the ride with it if you. We're creating so much value. There is about to be so much value created in this space that you want to get those gains from that upside. You want to be a part of that value creation. So that's why you want to own it now, because you're going to make life-changing money if this is what we think it is. And that's not something you want to miss out on. And like,
that's something that's something that most people aren't even informed on, is like what investments are, first of all, people aren't even taught. They're not even taught about economics in school, so they don't even know how to save in the future. So like, when we talk about these kind of returns,
you're not even taught to. Like, everyone has this like terrible time preference. It's like everyone has this time preference to spend now, and it's just, that's not the way the world should be run. And it's no coincidence that we're just completely destroying our planet because of our time preference.
Well, you can save in the future with Bitcoin. And all right, so this is what I try to tell people too. Like, we look at this chart right now and they say, Joe, the prices look like they're up, they're down. Jack, do me a favor, zoom out 3 years, zoom out to the last all-time high.
Wait, we'll talk about price in a minute, but how many Bitcoin is one Bitcoin?
1 Bitcoin.
Exactly. 1 Bitcoin is always 1 Bitcoin, and it will never change. It will be always 1 divided by 21. I got this on here. I'm going to switch charts here.
Go ahead and pop them up, bro. Get it going.
I'm going to switch charts to the Bitstamp one, because this is we're going on the weekly log chart here.
Going on the weekly, y'all.
So this is Bitstamp. I think this is the oldest Bitcoin exchange, at least that I know of, that has the data on TradingView. So we're looking at a weekly chart on log scale, which log scale means that the intervals are the same in terms of percentage gains. So if you think of it, the change from $1 to $2 is the exact same change as $1,000 to $2,000 in terms of percentage. So that's all log is for people that don't understand that. So we are looking at a log scale here, and when you put it on a linear scale, everything after 27 or anything before 2017 doesn't even look like it existed, and that's because it's linear. So that's the benefits of looking on log, and typically in Wall Street and all this, no one looks at log scale.
I gotta stop you for a minute, Jack. What Jack is doing is Jack is showing you the price history of Bitcoin from when it was first starting to be tracked at when, Jack, right there, it's what, 2000, I'm blocked on my screen, 2012. So all the way on
Yeah.
the left there is 2012. All the way on the right, as you can see on the bottom x-axis is 2020. So you're looking at 10 years of a price history on Bitcoin, and you know the price from the all the way to the right side. That's the price right there. So he's walking you right now through how Bitcoin grows. I want Jack, walk us through how it grows in cycles, the whole theory
So
behind it, and everything like that.
yeah, I mean, it's all based off of the simple, the most basic thing you learned in economics, supply and demand. Crazy that we're going back to that,
It's nuts.
So yeah, so the protocol originally, it's for 21 million coins that will be mined. I don't know when the last coin gets mined. It's like 2140 ish. I should know that, but I don't. So we're talking about an exponential decay. So typically, I think Einstein said exponential numbers and interest is the eighth wonder or the seventh wonder of the world. And it's true because people don't really understand compounding numbers, and we're talking about compounding numbers to the downside. We're talking decay. So every 4 years, Bitcoin's new supply that is mined becomes reduced by half. So in May of this year, we went from 12.5 BTC released by the protocol to the miners every 10 minutes. We went from 12.5 to 6.25 this year. So prior to that, we had other halvening cycles. And so what that does to the price is it basically changes the effect that the miners have on the market, because the miners are obviously running these computers, these rigs, and their cost in is typically electricity and whatever their computers are. And so they're mining this, spending real money, and typically to make their profits, they have to sell it into the market. And so at a flip of a switch on the halvening date, the amount that they're able to mine is immediately reduced by half. So the effect of their sales on the market becomes more and more smaller versus the outstanding supply. So we're moving from a miner dominated market to a true supply and demand market of, every time a holder takes the Bitcoin off of the exchange and holds it themselves and they're not selling, that's one less Bitcoin that someone can buy. So we're purely talking supply and demand here. And you can clearly see, I mean, there was a lot of movement at the beginning because it was so volatile. It was so new, with the regulations that were coming out, and just there were so many things that could have taken it down because the community was so small. But I mean, these run-ups are all purely driven by the halvening.
So this is Jack. This is a good. I want to just quickly intrude real quick, because this is so.
Yeah.
What you're looking at is you're seeing the growth cycles of Bitcoin's price. So from 2012 until 2020, the way that Bitcoin grows is you have these big parabolic moves up. As you can see, it happened about 4 times before this, before 2017, the last time, and it comes back about 85, 90%. This happens because of interest in it, and there's a fixed supply. And like Jack was just digging into with the miners, every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that's released into circulation is cut in half. So every 4 years, there's less Bitcoin that is going to be in existence. And as it grows, as more people buy in, as more people are using the protocol, the technology, the currency, you can use it on PayPal now, thank God. Because there's so much of it, it becomes worth more and more and more. This is an asset and a currency that allows us to save and have more value in the future, which we have not had in this country and in the world since 80 plus years, the gold standard, right? 71 maybe. And what Jack is showing us right now is that, as you can see from the life of Bitcoin's price movements and growths, we're now kind of coming into this next growth phase. But the difference this time is that the amount of Bitcoin that are in existence, there's a lot of people that are buying right now, including banks, including the Billionaires, Paul Tudor Jones, a bunch of other ones. So we're going to see maybe not, but if you look at this chart overall, the next upward growth happening in the price of Bitcoin, and it's going to be really increased by a lot of the institutional buying that we're seeing from pension funds, from banks, from governments now, because the globe is in a depression, in a recession right now, and the reserve currency is changing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, dude. The boomers don't want it, right? Our parents don't
Yeah.
want it, but the fact is right now is that it's happening. And this chart is just such a beautiful sight to see. It gives me a lot of hope for the future. And it's not too late. People could
Yeah.
start buying right now if they wanted to, you know?
It's never too late because, saying it's too late is implying that you missed the bus. And it's like, we're talking about like eternal savings. So like, even when its value is decided, there's still like the upside to putting your money into it because it's still doing its job. But we're like, I think what brings a lot of people in is just the upside potential return, because you're basically going to capture that value change. So whatever value in the world it represents, so if it represents the whole economy, like whatever that GDP is going to be reflected in the appreciation of the asset. So the value is always going to be going up as long as we're producing and
It
innovating.
doesn't, that
So
doesn't, yeah, it's like, doesn't look like it's going down.
yeah, so it's really, the question is like, how much of the world is it going to capture? Hopefully it's the whole world, because like, I mean, people talk about how like, governments and states right now and other countries could be like this semi form of tribalism, and how this is like some unifying protocol to bring man together that will allow us to move forward. Like some people say that, we're not going to be able to move forward without like some sort of global unification. And this protocol might like literally be it. And like, what's funny to really think about is, have you actually looked at the mining schedule? Like, have you looked at like the last Bitcoin mined? Like, it will take 4 years for one whole Bitcoin to be mined at the end. It won't even be a whole Bitcoin. It will be a fraction of a Bitcoin, but we're talking exponential decay here. We're at 6.25 BTC per 10 minutes, and we're talking less than 1 BTC at the terminal end of this for 4 years. Less than 1.
Yeah. Jack,
So,
I think you have a faster internet than me. Can you pull up real quick the articles on the US dollar, the digital currency that they're creating, and then the China digital currency as
um,
well? You got a way faster internet speed than I do. So right now it's important to talk about because, a lot of what I've heard from people in past years has been, okay, Joe, you're telling me about Bitcoin and these digital currencies, but it seems really risky to me. It seems like it's a risky investment. I don't think that's going to work out. The difference between now, 2020, from past years when we got involved, started getting involved 2017, 18, 19, is that we're actually seeing the transition happening of the reserve currency. We in the United States are very fortunate to have had the dollar as the reserve currency of the world over the last, since 1944, really. And
so
and
so
that's kind of changing, dude.
before we really get into like the digital currency, I just wanted to bring this up. This is like a very important point, to kind of, where is the world now? Well,
Yeah.
interest rates are at zero. So the time value of money is zero, meaning either time has no value or money has no value. You choose.
Explain the time
If it's
value of money, Jack, real quick. Time value, like to people.
time value of money is like the simple concept of, when you lend someone money, there is a value of the time that
Hmm.
it's lent. And so you should be paying a premium, which is the interest rate, basically. And so when the interest rate is zero, close to zero, negative, we're talking a real interest rate here as well. So
So
the
like
real interest rate is,
a loan or anything like
yeah,
that if you made
the
it
real
out.
interest rate would be, the interest rate that is stated on the terms and conditions, minus the rate of inflation. So if you have a high positive rate of inflation, your real interest rate is typically a lot lower. So with rates below 2, typically across the board, obviously this is not for the average American on credit cards and such. But we're talking about big institutions. They're lending at $0, a 0% rate, real rate. That's it's indicating that the currency is dying, and that doesn't happen in a fixed currency supply
in
system.
30 seconds, in 30 seconds before we keep going, I'm going to clear this up right now because it's real quick too. So what Jack is saying is that in the past, over the last 80 to 100 years or so, we worked off a financial system where when you give a loan to someone, they pay you back the amount you gave them in the loan plus interest. But right now, all these countries around the world, other than the United States, are in negative interest rates. It has not existed in 5,000 plus years. But what that means is that when you give a loan to someone, you actually pay them monthly, and it's all fucked up. It has not existed since, and because of that, like it's just the system's broken. Literally, it's broken. Okay, Jack, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and to expand on that, a lot of the U.S. is like the last beacon of hope of positive rates. We're typically not talking the U.S. in terms of negative rates, but we're talking almost zero. But what people don't understand is like these negative bonds, typically in Europe, I think a lot of these treasury bonds are negative. And who is buying those bonds? Like if I told you like we're gonna create a contract, you're gonna lend me $100, and in 10 years I'll pay you back $90. Like who the fuck would ever sign up for that? Like you are destined to lose money. Maybe not on a real basis if we're talking deflation, but like I just don't get it. And it's literally the entire financial system with negative rates. It's full of moral hazard.
Yeah.
And to kind of explain that a little bit more, to follow up with this tweet, so I can go back to the digital currency. The M2 growth is the money supply growth. We're at 23% this year. The US budget deficit is 15%. Emerging markets are debasing their currency. We have an insane COVID impact. So Dan Tapiero is saying that his upside target of $3,600 is very compelling. That is quite shallow. 36,000. Yes, 36,000. Moving back to the negative rates and why that is important to you is whether you like it or not, your dollar will be digital very soon. Hopefully not, but I don't know how fast it will be because I feel like the Fed had like an oh shit moment, and they realized that they had to do this to compete with China, because really what you're doing by going digital is you're just allowing more people to access your currency. So like if you're talking Africa, almost everyone in Africa has a cell phone at this point. I believe most people do. And if people can buy your currency through a cell phone, that is a huge market that you can tap into that you can't do with a physical piece of paper. So besides that, we're talking about like the almost instantaneous transaction speeds of moving money. So that's China's doing that already. And the Fed is.
I was in Afghanistan in 2012, dude. They had no sewage, no running water. They're the third most undeveloped country in the world. But the one piece of technology they had was a Nokia cell phone, which was just mind blowing to me. Like, so that this ties totally into that too. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's coming, and so what does this digital dollar mean to you? I mean, no one knows how it's gonna play out, but likely that COVID stimulus or some type of stimulus. I'm thinking that it's beyond COVID. Like they're gonna have to keep putting money at the bottom to keep people sane and to stop people from uprising. I mean, eat the rich is gaining more and more ground every day. So I don't know how much that'll work, but we'll say that they're going to come out with their freedom app, we'll call it, and they're going to you have to download it on your phone, and they're going to say if you want your stimulus, download the freedom app, and you're going to be given these digital dollars. They could have some type of expiration on them where if you don't spend them within a month, they disappear. So that's to get you to stimulate and spend in the economy. And more people are going to do that as it's quote unquote free money. shocker, nothing in life is free. So,
Convenience is the
I don't,
devil, my friend, as they say.
yeah. So ideally what they're going to do is, they're going to say, hey, um, well, if you deposit your cash with us, we'll make it digital. And you saw how great the app works. So you're going to want to do that. So it's going to take cash reserves away from the banks. And eventually it's just going to be the Fed, which will probably be very centralized control of money. And that's closer to communism than we've ever been. At least we have some banks to control the credit. But if we're talking a digital currency created by the Fed, you don't need a real bank anymore. The Fed can do everything. They could probably release some type of API for lending and throw it off to somebody else. But at the end of the day, they control everything, and that's pretty scary. So when you have a digital currency, going back to the interest rates, they can say, Apple, your $100 billion, yeah, we don't like that. We want you to spend it. We're going to give you negative interest rates for holding that. And they say, oh, the restaurant owner that's hurting from COVID, we'll give you a 10% rate for your savings right now to promote, to help out the little guy to get the big wads of cash to spend. So, they're basically trying to get you to not spend. They're getting a dependence on the government. They don't want you to save. They want you to spend. They want GDP up. They need inflation to keep this ride going. And that's how they're going to likely do it. And the difference between the current system that we live in and the digital system is, once we're fully digital, there is no more paper dollar anymore. You're not using a dollar bill anymore. So you can't avoid these rates. There's no way to do it unless you get out of the asset. So we're talking like, how do you store value if someone is going to tax what your savings through a negative interest rate? There's no way except buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, but that's part of this, though, is a lot of what I've been talking about is that this digital dollar is coming in, and it's if you watch what's happened with COVID and you watch what's happened with, unfortunately, the reliance on universal basic income or a lot of unemployment, it is more reliance on the state and for benefits from the government. But this is happening at a time when we're seeing this transition from the reserve currency, from a physical asset, to now a digital currency. And like you talked about, Jack, like when that happens, the people that are reliant, and it's a lot of us, it's a lot of Americans that are right now tapping into benefits, and you're going to be forced to opt into this system, and you're going to do it because you got to do it and all that stuff. But it's important to differentiate between a central bank government controlled cryptocurrency, which is not a cryptocurrency. It's just this. It's a digital dollar. It's nothing. The currency that I think, and we need to just let people know too from the start that like your dollars have been losing value over time because the government's been doing that. But you do have these alternatives like Bitcoin that are the gold for the internet. You can save in this. I think you can even accept your paycheck in it nowadays, and it is a fixed. It's a crypto that isn't controlled by government. It's not controlled by any one central bank. And I think that the thing that people need to get across more than anything is, in this world, when we move to where there's a digital dollar, there's a digital yen, all these governments around the world are attempting to experiment with their own central bank digital currencies. You can still opt out and you can still save in Bitcoin. And that is going to put you ahead of these other countries because of the fact that you're saving in a hard asset and not this bullshit replica of a fiat currency that's been created by a country that we're going to see because we're in these currency wars. Yeah. But, here it is, though. It's right in front of us. I mean, the Fed is saying it right here. Like, if Americans want to know what they should expect of the next year or so of their money, it's that it's going to be losing value continuously, more than it's ever been in history. And they're probably going to roll you out to a digital currency. And you're just going to log into your bank account in the morning and see this terms and agreements. Okay. And then maybe that happens. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, so there's 2 points that I want to hit. The reason why, I mean, it sounds pretty grim, but I mean, there are benefits to going digital, which I don't really want to get into that totally, because I don't really want to advocate for a digital dollar. But the one thing that people need to realize is the bad things can't really happen in the current system, because if they were to force negative rates onto savings accounts, you would just get bank runs, because you can store the cash in person. So if you saw one day that your bank account is getting a negative rate, you could just go to the bank and withdraw the money, or then it's not money, draw the currency, and then you could just save it under your mattress or whatever to avoid those rates. So that's why you don't really see the negative rates on the savings accounts yet, but they're coming, and the digital has to happen first, so that there's no alternative to avoid it, in terms of keeping your value stored in the currency. But the one thing that I'm afraid of, Joe, now that like I think about it, is what makes you think that the government can't write in a code that doesn't allow you to ever exchange your digital dollars for Bitcoin? Like, the Bitcoin protocol will always exist, but what if they just don't let the transaction of dollars for Bitcoin ever happen? Digital dollars. Is that possible? I don't fully know.
I look at it, dude, the only comparison that we have today is physical gold. And the way I look at it today,
Yeah.
that gold exists outside of the dollar system, and there's tax regulations around the way they treat gold. You're still saving it, thankfully, and and that's an option. But you have to convert back into dollars at some point to pay your taxes. You can't pay in gold. So, I really kind of view it in that sense. We talked about the Silk Road in the past, that $1 billion Bitcoin seizure that the U.S. government has right now, and like I can't help but to wonder if Bitcoin will ultimately be treated like gold as an asset when it comes to laws or regulatory. I mean, let's be honest. Like if the feds love Bitcoin, the law enforcement loves Bitcoin. They can
They
trace.
do.
They do. They fucking love it because
And
all of
that's where the
Bitcoin's
argument of
transactions. We should talk about this
that's
real
where the
quick
money
though. But
laundering argument, it just falls apart, because you're literally creating a permanent digital trace of everything that you ever did, and that doesn't even exist in the dollar world. So like, it's just bullshit when people say that you can launder money and do crime in it. Like, no, this is not the place to do that on the internet. If you want to do that, there's other alternatives to launder money that are way more efficient than Bitcoin.
right.
And you're just setting yourself up to get arrested if you're doing it in Bitcoin. So it's just a completely bullshit argument.
If you're someone, yeah, if you're, so right now, we're going to let this be known right now because it's got to be known too. Like, one of the best things about Bitcoin, but also one of the worst things about Bitcoin is that it's a public, transparent blockchain. So there's the wallet addresses where these are the accounts that Bitcoin are sending back and forth to. But if you can identify someone behind a wallet address or an account, you could trace every transaction that they've ever done. And this is what the U.S. has done, and many people around the world. So that makes me think that alone, like I almost feel like they're not going to outlaw it because like the government and law enforcement is already using it to their benefit in a way. And they
Yeah,
can,
and
but then other applications like Cake Wallet or a lot of these conversion type of features step in. And
yeah, and like the Twitter hack, like everyone was like, "Oh, Bitcoin got hacked." It's like, no, Twitter got hacked,
Twitter got
and
hacked.
some stupid people sent their Bitcoin to Elon Musk because he was going to give them more Bitcoin back. Like, okay, like you're kind of just asking for it, but Twitter got hacked, Bitcoin didn't get hacked, and the hacker got caught. The hacker had no way to get rid of that money. He had no way to actually spend it because everyone was looking at the money. Wherever you sent it, they know where it's going. There's no way you can actually ever exchange that for physical dollars without it ever being tied to your personal identity. I mean, there could be some small ways to do it through like these pool, like the pools where you have to. It's based on trust though. So you're basically giving somebody else your Bitcoin,
you've got
and you're spreading it out, and you're doing multiple transactions at once through like these multi-layer pools, and then at some point it gets to another address that's eventually yours. And because you're doing it in a pool of people, it's hard to say that who is who. You'd have to check all the people that those Bitcoin went to, and it's very difficult.
If you really want private transactions right now, you're using Monero or Pirate Chain. That's the only other one that I'm really supporting right now. But yeah, dude. I mean, so this is it. We're coming to an end here. I think an hour is pretty good. But main takeaways is the Bitcoin market is looking like we're steering up for the strength into the next bull run. 5 months ago, whatever, it was 10,000. We were telling you to buy then. The billionaires are on board. Paul Tudor Jones, a bunch of the banks. Citibank has putting Bitcoin at a price projection of 318,000 in a year.
It's going to go a lot higher than that, by the way.
And we showed a bunch of different resources that I want to show the books one more time, Jack, just so people can see this too. So some books that I'm personally recommending, Jack, I'm going to let him tell you some of the best podcasts or auditory like places you can go to learn if you're a reader or you're anyone like that. The Bitcoin Standard is a great book to get. This will explain currencies, the history of currencies, and Bitcoin. The second book from there, this is the first book I purchased that I've learned the most from. It's like a textbook mostly. It's Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. The first half of this book is for non-technical folks. The last half is for you software developers and technical folks trying to learn more about the code. And then this last book, Jack, we didn't get into before, but I feel like is one of the most important, bro. I'm going to keep bringing it up. This book is called The Book of Satoshi. Okay. The Book of Satoshi. It was written by Phil Champlain and forwarded by Jeff Burwick. This book right here is one of the only books I found out there that actually has an entire collection of Satoshi Nakamoto's emails and all the communications. So Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym that they're the creator of Bitcoin. No one knows who it is, who they are, and they were talking to us through emails and chat communication for a few years. Then they just disappeared off the face of the earth. And it doesn't matter at this point because Bitcoin's open source technology. So that means that everyone that's developing on it is making it better. So this was just the person that started it. It's not the person that where it's ended now. But I like it because it's the only collection of Satoshi's emails that we have. And I think it's going to have value going forward. I think that this might get lost, unfortunately, in history. Who knows, though? So those are the books. Jack, if you have any other podcasts that you liked or places you can send people to, definitely let us know now. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I already talked to you about this, but if you are looking to get orange pilled, you could go to Orange Pill Podcast, obviously. But I think one of the strongest orange pills is Michael Saylor. He's done some amazing podcasts. He is the CEO of MicroStrategy. They bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin in the second or third quarter of this year. He went from knowing nothing about it to buying $500 million. What does he know that you don't? So any podcast with him. So What Bitcoin Did is one of the podcasts that is very good that he was on, or Bitcoin Rapid Fire, which is by John Vallis. John Vallis also runs a really, really interesting podcast. It's he mostly focuses, quote unquote, on the plebs of Bitcoin. So the nobodies that have all gone through this rabbit hole, and he shares their experiences. And it's a lot of just uncovering the truth about what this is. And it's more than just this technology. It's an ideology. And I can't think of a better kind of, if you want more of the philosophy side of Bitcoin, then there's that. And also Robert Breedlove, he has his own website, Twitter, and he goes on a ton of podcasts where he is just an awesome writer and really talks about the metaphors of Bitcoin and relating it to the real world. He was just on a podcast on Swan with I can't can't remember, one of the head guys of Swan, who wrote an article about how Bitcoin is the mycelium of money and how the mycelium network is very similar to the connectivity of the Bitcoin network and all these great things. And I mean, there's just so many people that are doing awesome work. So I mean, you could start with those guys, and just through their Twitter and other things, you'll find many more people who can point you in a really good direction in terms of that.
Cool, man. I think we're good then. All right, y'all. So again, tonight, biggest takeaway: Bitcoin is at $17,600 as we speak right now. We showed you long-term charts, what we thought. Gave you some resources here. Got links in the comments section if you're trying to subscribe. Joe Rap TV. I've consolidated the hub of all my content into this one channel. Send it, Jack.
Also, we also came out with a video on how to secure your private keys a little bit better.
How to lock it down.
So if you've already taken the step to get your Bitcoin off of an exchange and you have it on a hardware wallet, we have a video on the Cipher Wheel, just a quick review and a kind of an update on what's going on behind that in terms of what the seed keys are and how to manage that and how to protect that against fire, destruction, anything that could really happen, human error. You don't want to lose your funds, so security is everything. And like we said, that's like the base level of security that you should have if you're owning your own Bitcoin. So I would definitely go and check that out. And stay tuned for hopefully some videos coming out soon about multi-sig and the next step beyond that, because that's kind of a newer development in the past couple of years that everyone has been praising. So we want to get that information out to you pretty soon, because you definitely want to be getting on that train as well.
That's it, y'all.
Just buy Bitcoin. Just stop questioning it. Buy it. Buy a little bit.
You could buy a dollar
today, buy a little bit tomorrow.
Buy a penny. You could buy 50 cents. Just
do it. Stack sats.
All right, y'all. That's going to be it. We'll see y'all soon. Jack, thanks again, dude. And
awesome.
We're going to be seeing more Jack. All right, y'all.
Of course.
Take care.